There's a moment so small you almost miss it when someone asks you a question that doesn't sit right in your chest. Something in their voice, their timing, their choice of words, it sends a small, sharp signal into your nervous system. Your heart tightens. Your mind tilts. You can't explain it, but you know something is off. Maybe they're smiling too much. Maybe they're acting too calm. Maybe they're pushing you to answer faster than you want to. And in that moment, while you're confused, while your emotions begin to blur, while your instinct wrestles with your logic, that's exactly when a manipulator takes control. Liars don't just lie. They guide. They frame. They soften the ground beneath your feet and make you doubt the firmness of your own reality. And the most dangerous liars, the ones who know how human psychology works, don't attack you with statements. They attack you with questions. Questions that sound innocent. Questions that sound caring. Questions that sound logical. Questions that sound like they're trying to clarify. But every one of those questions is engineered with a purpose. To twist your perspective before you even realize what's happening. Maybe you felt this before. Someone asks you something, and afterwards you wonder why you agreed to something you didn't want, why you apologized for something you didn't do, why you ended up feeling guilty for something you never intended. That's because manipulators know something most people don't. Questions can shape emotions more powerfully than statements. A manipulator's question can make you doubt yourself. A manipulator's question can make you justify your own innocence. A manipulator's question can push you into defending something that never needed defending. And a manipulator's question can quietly place blame on you without them ever saying it out loud. But here's the truth. The moment you learn how these questions work, the psychology behind them, the emotional traps inside them, and the subtle ways they shift your inner balance, you stop being a target. You stop being someone who gets pulled into emotional fog. And instead, you become someone unshakable. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology. They knew that people will try to manipulate your perception. They knew that your mind is the real battlefield, and the moment someone can make you question yourself, they control your behavior. So they developed the skill of emotional neutrality, the art of pausing before reacting, the power of seeing intent beneath the surface. In this video, you're going to discover the 5 questions liars use to manipulate you and the Stoic wisdom that protects you from all of them. Not just to defend yourself, but to transform the way you respond to pressure, confusion, and emotional traps. By the time we reach the end, you won't just understand manipulation, you'll recognize its fingerprints instantly. You'll remain calm when someone tries to pull you off balance. And most importantly, you'll respond with clarity, strength, and confidence even when someone wants to twist your truth. Let's begin. Manipulation doesn't always arrive with shouting, threats, or dramatic conversations. More often, it comes softly, disguised as curiosity, concern, or logic. People who lie, especially skilled manipulators, don't want you to notice their intention. They want you to feel like they're trying to understand you. And that's exactly why their questions are so effective. A question feels harmless. A question feels polite. A question feels like an invitation to explain yourself. But explanations are where people lose their power. Because the moment you start defending yourself, you've already shifted into a weaker psychological position. The manipulator stands still while you scramble to justify your emotions, your decisions, your experiences, your reality. They watch you talk. They watch you over-explain. And while you're busy proving yourself, they're guiding the situation in the direction they want. This is why it matters so much to understand the questions they use. Not because you need to fight people, not because every person is dangerous, but because knowing how manipulation works gives you control over your inner state. You can spot the emotional hooks before they sink in. You can pause before reacting. You can decide whether to respond, disengage, or redirect the conversation completely. Stoic philosophy teaches one core idea. Your peace is your responsibility. And the fastest way to lose your peace is to let the wrong person guide your emotions. When someone's questions start shaping the way you think, you lose the ability to lead your own mind. This script is not about paranoia. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing when someone is using questions strategically, questions that challenge your reality, provoke guilt, blur boundaries, shift blame, or put you in a defensive state. By understanding these 5 questions, you build emotional armor. You won't freeze when someone tries to manipulate you. You won't fall into guilt that doesn't belong to you. You won't allow someone's tone or phrasing to pressure you into decisions you never wanted to make. Instead, you'll become steady, grounded, and calm no matter what psychological tricks someone tries to use. Let's break down the first manipulative question. Why are you overreacting? This question is a classic tool manipulators use to gain immediate emotional advantage. They don't need evidence. They don't need logic. All they need is to make you feel like your emotions are the problem. By asking this, they shift the focus away from their behavior and onto your reaction. Suddenly, you're the one who feels irrational, dramatic, or unstable. And when a liar can make you doubt your emotional state, they weaken your sense of clarity. The psychology behind this question is simple but powerful. Manipulators know that most people don't want to be seen as emotional or unreasonable, so they use this as a pressure point. When someone says you're overreacting, your first instinct is to defend your emotional response. You begin explaining why you feel the way you feel. The manipulator listens quietly, gaining more information while you justify yourself. This question also creates self-doubt. If repeated enough, it can make you think your emotional instincts are wrong even when they're accurate. And once your emotional compass is weakened, you become much easier to control. Imagine you confront someone for lying or hiding something important. Instead of addressing the issue, they respond with, "Why are you overreacting?" Immediately, your frustration turns inward. You start thinking, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I'm misunderstood. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. The person who caused the problem suddenly becomes the calm one, while you feel unbalanced. They maintain control simply by labeling your reaction. And the more they repeat it, the more you silence your own intuition. Countless people have walked away from manipulation thinking their emotions were the real issue, when in reality, their instinct was accurate. Stoicism teaches that emotions are signals, not weaknesses. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind must remain aware of what is truly happening, not what others try to project onto you. When someone accuses you of overreacting, the Stoic response isn't to get louder or shut down. It's to return to your inner clarity. The Stoics understood that manipulative people often attempt to distort perception. Your job is to separate their framing from the truth. Ask yourself, what actually happened? What did I observe? What is real, regardless of what they say? This inner reset keeps you grounded. The most powerful response is calm, neutral, and firm. Try something like, "I'm not overreacting. I'm responding appropriately to what happened." Or, "Let's talk about the situation, not my reaction to it." This shifts the conversation back to the actual issue. It signals that emotional manipulation will not work on you. And most importantly, it keeps you from defending your feelings because your feelings don't need defending. This is emotional self-defense at its simplest and strongest. When someone tries to control you by defining your emotions, remember, their words don't decide your reality. Only your clarity does. If you have nothing to hide, why not answer? This question sounds logical on the surface. It's framed as curiosity, as if you're withholding something suspicious. But beneath it lies a psychological trap, forcing you to defend your boundaries as if they're evidence of guilt. Manipulators love this question because it pushes you into a corner. Either you answer giving them information they want, or you protect your privacy and look guilty. It's a false dilemma designed to make you justify yourself. The manipulator uses this question to shift the emotional burden onto you. Instead of them proving why they deserve your trust, you're suddenly trying to prove your innocence. This tactic also exploits the human desire to avoid appearing deceptive. Most people respond by opening up more than they should. But the real trick is the underlying assumption, the idea that honest people must be fully transparent at all times. That is false. Everyone has a right to privacy. Manipulators know this, so they weaponize it to make you uncomfortable until you reveal something they can use later. Maybe someone asks where you went, who you talked to, what you said, or why you didn't respond immediately. When you hesitate, which is normal, they drop the line. If you have nothing to hide, why not answer? Suddenly, the conversation turns from curiosity to interrogation. Even if you've done nothing wrong, the pressure makes you feel compelled to explain everything in detail. And once you over-explain, they store your words like ammunition. Later, they'll twist them, repeat them, or attack inconsistencies. It's not about honesty, it's about gaining leverage. The Stoics believe that your mind is your own territory, and you owe explanations only when you choose to give them. Epictetus taught that people will attempt to enter your inner world without permission. The wise person decides what to reveal and what to guard. Privacy is not secrecy, it is sovereignty. When someone frames your boundaries as suspicious, remember what the Stoics practiced. Remain anchored in your values, not in someone else's pressure. The calm refusal to be rushed or cornered is a form of strength. A calm, assertive response shuts this down instantly. Having boundaries doesn't mean I'm hiding something. Or, I choose what I share. That doesn't require justification. These replies break the manipulator's frame. You're no longer defending yourself, you're asserting your right to privacy. The key is to avoid giving emotional explanations. Keep your tone steady. You owe no one the details of your thoughts, schedule, or personal life unless you freely choose to share them. Privacy is not a confession. Your boundaries are not evidence. They are protection. Are you sure that's what really happened? This question is subtle, but extremely dangerous. It's designed to make you doubt your memory, your perception, and your intuition. Manipulators use it when they want to rewrite reality without openly accusing you. It's not a denial, it's a seed of doubt. And if they repeat it enough, you start questioning yourself, even when your recollection is accurate. This tactic targets the brain's natural uncertainty. Human memory isn't perfect, and liars exploit that vulnerability. By gently challenging your version of events, they make themselves appear calm and rational while painting you as confused. This question also creates an imbalance. You begin scanning your mind for errors while they confidently assert their version. In psychology, this is a form of gaslighting. The goal isn't to prove you wrong, it's to make you unsure. Think about a time you confronted someone about something clear, something you saw, heard, or experienced. Instead of addressing it, they said, "Are you sure that's what really happened?" Suddenly you hesitate. You replay the event. They act patient, even compassionate, as if helping you remember accurately. But every moment you doubt yourself gives them more power. Before long, they offer their own version of the story, slightly altered. And because you're unsure, you accept it until you find yourself living in their narrative instead of your own. Stoicism emphasizes perception as one of the three disciplines. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to return to what he directly observed. Not opinions, not interpretations, not someone else's version. Just the truth of what he saw and knew. When someone tries to distort your memory, the Stoic response is to pause, breathe, and ground yourself. What did you witness? What did you feel? What do you know? Even if your memory isn't perfect, your instinct is often more accurate than someone's manipulation. One steady response dismantles this tactic. Yes, I'm sure. Let's stay with the facts. Or, I know what I experienced, even if you disagree. This takes the wind out of their manipulation. You don't have to argue or prove every detail. You simply assert your reality. When you remain calm and confident, manipulators lose their leverage. They rely on your uncertainty. Your clarity removes their power. When someone questions your memory, don't surrender your truth. Stand firm in what you witnessed. Reality does not bend to pressure. Why would I lie about that? This question isn't meant to prove innocence, it's meant to intimidate you into dropping your doubts. Manipulators use it because it sounds like a defense, but in reality, it flips the burden back onto you. Instead of explaining their actions, they make you feel unreasonable for even questioning them. It's a tactic that stops conversations dead, leaving you unsure how to continue. This question subtly attacks your credibility. It suggests that you're imagining things or being irrational. It also implies that lying requires a dramatic motive, when in truth, people lie for small, simple, selfish reasons. Manipulators use this tactic to make you feel guilty for doubting them. They shift attention away from their behavior and toward your unfair suspicion. The result? You back down, even when your intuition was right. Imagine someone gives you an explanation that doesn't match their behavior. When you ask questions, they respond, "Why would I lie about that?" Suddenly you are the one who feels defensive. You start reassuring them. You soften your tone. You doubt your instincts. Meanwhile, they avoid answering the actual concern. They hide behind indignation, and before you know it, the topic is dropped. It's a psychological trick that successful manipulators use repeatedly. Seneca wrote that people often disguise their motives under layers of emotion. Stoics believe that truth isn't determined by how offended someone acts, it's determined by facts. When someone responds with this question, the Stoic approach is to remain anchored in logic. You don't need dramatic motives to suspect dishonesty. You only need observation. The wise person stays detached from emotional theatrics and returns to clarity. The best response is neutral and unshaken. My question still stands. Let's address that. Or, your reaction doesn't answer what I asked. This keeps the conversation on track and prevents them from escaping accountability. You're not accusing. You're apologizing. You're simply refusing to be distracted by emotional deflection. Over time, people learn they can't manipulate you with guilt or theatrics. A manipulator's outrage is not proof of innocence. Noise is not truth. Calm clarity is. Do you really think I'd do that to you? This question is emotional manipulation wrapped in fake vulnerability. It makes you doubt your perception while appealing to your empathy. Instead of addressing their behavior, they appeal to your loyalty, your kindness, or your hope that they're a better person than their actions suggest. It's a tactic that traps good-hearted people in cycles of self-blame. This question is powerful because it guilt trips you. It suggests that doubting them means you don't trust them, don't care about them, or don't value the relationship. It shifts the emotional burden onto you. Manipulators know most people don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so they weaponize that sensitivity. You stop focusing on what they did and start focusing on whether you're being too harsh. It's emotional inversion. Let's say you confront someone because something feels wrong, a lie, a contradiction, avoidance, secrecy. Instead of answering, they say, "Do you really think I'd do that to you?" Suddenly you feel cold inside. You wonder if you're being unfair. You feel pressure to reassure them. You retract your instincts. Meanwhile, they successfully avoid accountability while making you feel guilty for even questioning them. It's a tactic many people fall for because it hits emotional vulnerability. Stoic philosophy teaches that actions reveal character, not claims, not feelings, not emotional reactions. Epictetus taught that trust must be based on behavior, not words. When someone tries to guilt you into ignoring their actions, the Stoic approach is to separate emotion from evaluation. You can care about someone without surrendering your judgment. Clarity requires emotional independence, even in relationships. The Stoics practice the art of seeing people as they behave, not as they promise. A calm, grounding response ends this tactic. This isn't about what I think of you. It's about what happened. Or, let's discuss the actions, not the emotions around them. This keeps the focus where it belongs, behavior. You avoid getting pulled into guilt, reassurance, or emotional labor. The manipulator loses the ability to control you through emotional appeal. You stay centered. Caring about someone doesn't mean abandoning your clarity. Trust is earned through actions, not emotional performances. This is the moment everything clicks. The moment you realize that manipulation was never about the questions themselves. It was about what those questions made you feel. Manipulators don't overpower you by force. They chip away at your certainty. They drain your confidence. They twist your instincts. They make you feel small, guilty, confused, or defensive. And in those emotional states, they gain control over your choices. But now you see their pattern. Every manipulative question is designed to push you into one of three emotional traps. Doubt your emotions. Why are you overreacting? Doubt your boundaries. If you have nothing to hide, why not answer? Doubt your memory. Are you sure that's what really happened? Doubt your suspicion. Why would I lie about that? Doubt your intuition. Do you really think I'd do that to you? And once you fall into any of these traps, the manipulator takes the lead. They guide the conversation. They shape the narrative. They define your feelings. They make you defend yourself. They make you question yourself. They make you feel guilty for even protecting yourself. But here's the emotional turning point. You are not the confused one. You are not the unreasonable one. You are not the dramatic one. You are not the problem. Your instincts were right all along. The reason manipulators target your emotions is because your emotions are powerful. They're the compass that warns you when someone's intentions don't match their words. And your boundaries? They are not evidence of guilt. They're evidence of self-respect. For the first time, you can see the truth clearly. Manipulators never ask real questions. They ask strategic questions. They're not trying to learn. They're trying to control. But something has shifted in you. The fog is gone. The emotional static is quiet. The confusion is dissolving. And in its place, there is clarity. Clarity doesn't shout. Clarity doesn't argue. Clarity doesn't chase approval. Clarity simply is. This is where the Stoic mindset transforms everything. When you operate from inner steadiness, manipulative questions lose their power. You don't get pulled into emotional traps. You don't rush to defend yourself. You don't shrink when someone challenges your perception. You don't absorb guilt that doesn't belong to you. You begin responding from a place of calm authority. You pause before answering. You evaluate intent without emotional noise. You hold your boundaries without apology. You trust your perception without needing permission. You choose clarity over confusion, self-respect over guilt, neutrality over emotional manipulation. And suddenly, every manipulative question turns into a window. You see the manipulator's tactics. You see their insecurity. You see their strategy. You see their intention. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You are no longer the person who doubts yourself. You are the person who recognizes psychological traps instantly. This is the emotional climax. You reclaim your inner authority. Your emotions are valid. Your memory is valid. Your boundaries are valid. Your intuition is valid. Your clarity is valid. The storm that used to shake you now feels distant. You've stepped into a place where manipulation cannot reach. Not because people stopped lying, but because you stopped absorbing their lies as truth. And from this point forward, you don't just protect yourself, you transform yourself. You become unshakable. If there's one message to take with you as you move forward, it's this. Manipulation doesn't work on people who trust their own clarity. Manipulators thrive on confusion, urgency, guilt, and doubt. But once you understand their tools, you become immune to their influence. You've learned the 5 questions they use to distort your perception and weaken your emotional foundation. You've learned how to recognize the psychology behind these questions. You've learned how to stay grounded in your own truth, even when someone is trying to shake it. And you've learned how Stoic wisdom turns emotional chaos into calm strength. Every part of this script wasn't just about protecting yourself from manipulation. It was about reclaiming your inner authority. Because the truth is, you were never powerless. Your instincts always knew. Your emotions always sensed the shift. Your intuition always whispered the truth. You simply needed the tools to interpret what you felt. You now understand that. You don't have to defend your emotions. You don't have to justify your boundaries. You don't have to explain your reality. You don't have to absorb someone else's guilt. You don't have to prove your innocence. Your peace is your responsibility, and you're right. The Stoics remind us that clarity comes from within. And when you cultivate a calm mind, no manipulative question can shake your foundation. You respond with strength, not fear. You respond with awareness, not confusion. You respond with confidence, not insecurity. You walk into conversations with a steady heart. You stand in your truth without trembling. You see through emotional pressure like glass. And slowly, the old version of you, the one who doubted, apologized, over-explained, or questioned your intuition, begins to fade. You're becoming someone different now. Someone grounded. Someone aware. Someone who cannot be twisted by someone else's narrative. Someone unshakable. A clear mind cannot be controlled. For the person who trusts their inner truth becomes unreachable to those who deal in deception. Carry this with you. Let it shape your strength, your awareness, and your peace. If this message resonated with you, I want you to become part of this community, a place where awareness, emotional strength, and inner clarity come first. Share your experiences in the comments. Which of these manipulative questions have you encountered? Your story might help someone else recognize manipulation before it takes hold. And if you want more videos on Stoic wisdom, psychology, emotional strength, and personal power, make sure to subscribe. You're not just watching a video, you're becoming someone stronger, more aware, and unshakable.